Great afternoon. Well, I just spent some time watching the documentary on Mae West. She was one of a kind. You know, she was great. She was just such a caricature of that sexuality, and but it wasn't, it wasn't done in a like it is now, that it was always kind of the promise of that sexuality, that smoldering promise. Why don't you come on up and see me sometime? It was always that, that thing of, potentiality of it. But, never got into the sexual scenes and the things like they have now. So she was great. She really played a character, and she did it her whole life. She was very much in control of everything. So I did a reading on her, and it was interesting. As I was watching it, I did a reading. In the center of it, she was a star in her own right. She created this character, was in vaudeville. She looked and she saw, Russell, and she did a caricature of Russell. Okay, Russell had this sex appeal, so she went in and made it even more over the top, overblown. Okay, so she used that image of Russell, what she was doing at that time, to show this Seven of Cups, the debauchery, the fantasy of it. The fantasy of it, the speculation of, creating this persona that was just she'd see those men and she'd look them up and she'd look them down and, take assessment. It was great. So, underneath of it, we had that, the song that she was doing, and there were those that tried to censor her. During that time was when the censoring came up. They would look at her status because she showed things from a different level. She really did kind of put things out there in your face, and then they had the censors that came up during that time, which, made her go forward she lived kind of in an exile by herself. She was always the drama queen that was just going forward, full bore. Always going forward, full bore. Going into it, she was always the one that was very much in control. Wisdom, this friendship and this, she made her own way, the Wheel of Fortune. She went in and asked how much the head of the studio was making, and she wanted $1 more than he was so she could be the biggest paid star in Hollywood at the time. So she was great with that. We have the Empress, she was out there just giving it as the inheritance. Like I said, she got it from Russell, and she would put that out there, reconciled herself to become this image that she was portraying, and she remained in character her whole life from that point. Once she developed that character, she held to it. She really held it, promoted that hunter of dreams, that fantasy, the high priestess. She kept things secret. People didn't see her unless she was in that character, and that brought a lot of enthusiasm to people just by her image, just how she was, She always had this thing of the lovers. okay? Promising of the action, but it was all the bluff, and it put forward that inspiration. It was, again, that temptation, that, overt kind of a sexuality without being overly sexual. And that's not an easy thing to do. Max, Raj, I have somebody working out there, and so they hear him and they're going to bark. Sorry about that. Anyway, so she did very well with making her money, being on screen. She used her intuition to develop this character. Okay, the indolence. She was always just kind of, laid back and she would be doing the action, working with others, very skilled. The victory card. I mean, she watched every scene the way that it was done, and the acquisition. It was like, she collects men. They're my hobby. Okay. So she was so fun for that reason, because she was just off the charts, bigger than life in this character, where she was not going to be repressed by anyone, that she was out there and she was going to be who she was. And she had an early marriage. She never got married again. She remained single. And really, it was quite interesting, her life. She became this personification called Mae West. And she lived it 24/7. Once she created that mask, she wore it the rest of her life. Okay? And I think she really kind of lost. She became that persona. Okay? She lived it, she breathed it 24/7, even until she was in her 80s. And she did her last picture, her last thing, in her 80s. And she lived it that whole time. So Mae West is kind of an icon. I think that part of it, that Marilyn Monroe, the great ones that had this really overtly sex appeal, I think she took some of the things watching of Mae West, but she took it in a little different direction, Marilyn took it, rather than being such a man chaser, that she was more kind of just the innocent and kind of a little clueless, okay? Very sexy, but a little clueless, a little, naive. She went into more the naivety, and Mae West was more of the man-eater type thing, that she was in control. And any man that came into her world, she was the one in control of the situation. Whereas Marilyn, she was more of that naivete, of someone that really kind of needed to be guarded and taken care of, and more of that type of a feeling. But anyway, it was an interesting documentary to watch. That Mae West was she controlled everything. She knew the lighting. She wrote the scripts. She wrote the scripts all herself of her dialogue. She had full control, artist control of everything that she did, which was very unusual in that day. So not only was she that personification, but I think part of it came through that she was that type of a person. She had to be in control of the situation. And again, part of that was what came through in her performance, such as it was. But yeah, Mae West, one of the greats. You'll never see another Mae West. Okay, and that's what I like about it. That type of an icon that had such a unusual flair. You know me, I like dramatic. No, I'm not real. I'm not real sedate, okay? I like the bright colored hair. I like the, that's just me. I've always been a little over the top, artistic. I like that. I can't see myself wearing now I do like that look though, the button-down suit, the very prim, the very prim, very proper look, but that's not me, okay? I would be so stifled in that type of a thing, although it works and it's great for some people. But what happened? Did that scare you? Did that move and it scared you, Mr. Max? So anyway, I'm going to leave this here, but that's what I did for today, for Sunday. Took a little time down. Watched the Mae West documentary. It was great. Enjoyed it. A lot of fun. I didn't know all those things about her, that she was really ahead of her time when it came to creating the character and micromanaging her career in every aspect of it. It was just, would have been an interesting person to meet, really. So I'm going to leave this here. If you're not doing anything, take a look at Mae West. She was one of a kind, definitely an icon. We have actresses that come and go, and there are very few real icons out there that really made a name and presented an image which will never quite be done again. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. See you online. Aho.